Come with me, toy fans.
Mattel's Masters of the Universe range of action figures was one of the most popular toy lines of the 1980s and remains a firm favourite with vintage toy collectors today. Many successful action figure lines improve as the range expands over its first few years of development, but in my opinion, Mattel pretty much nailed it on the first attempt, with the 1982 product line being my personal favourite. When I was a child, I'm pretty sure I got almost every Masters of the Universe toy from 1982, with the exception of Teela, who for some reason I never received as a present back in the day. The 1982 Masters of the Universe line included 8 figures featuring 3 heroes, 1 heroine, 3 villains and 1 character that everyone was confused about, along with a creature, 2 vehicles and 1 legendary playset. And in this video we're not going to discuss the history of the franchise. We've already covered that in our Toy Histories episode, so definitely check out that video if you haven't already done so. You can find a link to that video in the description below. In this video we're going to take a detailed look at every single toy in the Masters of the Universe range from 1982. Hello Motu fans, my name is Tony and welcome to this Analog Toys special feature, a collector's guide to Masters of the Universe 1982. I'd like to state up front that we're not going to discuss all the different action figure variations in this video. For example, I'm well aware that my Man-at-Arms figure is a later issue version. The first issue Man-at-Arms figure was released with red dots painted onto his helmet and is quite difficult to find today. If you're looking for that level of information, I definitely recommend checking out the Battle Ram blog website. You can find a link to the site in the description below. When Mattel first released the Masters of the Universe toy line in 1982, a total of 8 action figures were included, and although the 7 male characters all had a similar body construction, each figure has an incredibly different appearance with wildly varying colour schemes and totally unique head sculpts. All 8 figures are afforded a Power Punch feature by way of a spring-loaded waist, and most of them are equipped with a generous amount of accessories such as weapons and armour. The articulation for each figure consists of a turning head, ball-jointed hips, rotating shoulders and the aforementioned spring-loaded waist. The rubber connectors used to attach the legs on these figures perish over time, but fortunately you can purchase replacement connectors on eBay, and Toy Polloi has an excellent video showing you how to repair your vintage Motu figures using these replacement parts. Now let's take a closer look at the 4 heroic characters: He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Teela and Stratos. The lead character of He-Man, with his incredibly muscular physique, is a wonderfully designed action figure and one of the best Masters of the Universe figures ever produced by Mattel. In fact, in our top 10 Masters of the Universe action figures video, He-Man came in at number 2, being beaten to the top slot by Trapjaw, but that figure wasn't released in 1982. He-Man is afforded a decent amount of accessories here, including chest armour, a shield, a battle axe and of course his half of the power sword. Each figure also came packaged with a mini-comic which provides some backstory to the character, and in the case of He-Man, his mini-comic was entitled The King of Castle Grayskull. He-Man's chest armour is connected to the figure via 3 straps located at the back of the armour. His battle axe is double-sided and, for the time, I consider it to be quite well sculpted. The shield is made up of 3 individual pieces, making it the most complex design for any accessory from the 1982 range. The shield comprises of a piece of red cardboard sandwiched between separate front and back plastic components. When adorned with his accessories, He-Man makes for a very striking action figure and makes the perfect centerpiece to any vintage Masters of the Universe collection. Next up we have Man-at-Arms, the Master of Weapons, and Teela, the Warrior Goddess. Man-at-Arms has a colour scheme that I just love, and the character is also afforded a number of different accessories. The figure is armed with a mace-type weapon, but the rest of the accessories are all pieces of armour, which include a chest plate, a lower leg section, and armour for the left arm. The chest armour is attached to the action figure the same way as He-Man's armour, with the arm and leg sections being held in place with 1 strap each. Teela, the Warrior Goddess, is the only female figure in the 1982 lineup, and therefore has a totally different body type, although Teela is still afforded the same amount of articulation, including the Power Punch waist. Teela has been designed with an Amazon Warrior styled costume, and the figure has a very beautiful face sculpt. Teela is armed with a cobra headed battle staff and has a shield that attaches to her wrist via a small plastic clip. And finally, her snake motif armour fits over her head and is held in place with a single strap. The last heroic action figure is the most lackluster of the bunch, Stratos. When I was a child, I did like this figure because he reminded me of the Hawkmen from Flash Gordon, but in reality, Stratos is a bit underwhelming when compared to other figures. Stratos is accessorised with 2 wing attachments that strap onto each arm, and some type of rocket pack worn on his back, but no weapons to speak of. Seriously, every other figure from 1982 has a weapon. I mean, what does Stratos do in battle? Block axe blows with his wings? So that He-Man could ride into battle, Mattel gave us Battle Cat, a large green tiger with yellow stripes who is equipped with armour and headdress, and even though Battle Cat has no articulation to speak of, when He-Man is perched atop his saddle, this pairing of magnificent creature and heroic action figure makes for one of the most iconic toy combinations of the 1980s. You simply can't have one without the other. Before we get into the villain figures, let's take a look at the #1 playset of all time, Castle Grayskull. Although I've already discussed this playset in great detail in another video, let's do a quick recap of all the awesome play features incorporated into Castle Grayskull. The exterior of the castle is instantly iconic and immediately sets the tone for this fantastical play scenario, with its brilliantly sculpted skull visage. The drawbridge entrance can only be opened by the power sword, well, or by simply unlatching it from the inside. The lower level of the castle features a training device and a weapons rack, and in order to reach the upper level of the castle, figures can either use the elevator or the ladder, which is too narrow for them to grip with both hands. The top floor houses the throne room, which has the most fun play feature of the entire set. By turning the throne, figures can activate the trapdoor. And don't tell me this didn't give you hours of fun when you were a kid. Finally, we have the 2 guard towers at the top of the castle, one of which features a laser cannon mounted to a stand. Castle Grayskull is a legendary 80s toy, and you've heard me wax poetic about this playset so many times that I have nothing left to say, except, if you didn't have one of these when you were a child, you definitely missed out.
What do we have here?
It's Castle Grayskull. And it's mine.
Not so fast, Beastman.
He-Man!
You can pit He-Man against Beastman, playing for the power of Castle Grayskull. You have to put the castle together.
Beastman's escaping.
The throne, Dad. Dad, you saved the castle.
Castle Grayskull from the Masters of the Universe collection. He-Man and Beastman, each sold separately, from Mattel.
Now we're going to discuss the villain figures, starting with the Lord of Destruction, Skeletor. This demonic-looking action figure represents one of the best 80s bad guys ever created, Skeletor, who also ranks among the best action figures that Mattel ever produced for this toy line. This blue-skinned humanoid figure has a hooded head covering his green and yellow skull, and unusually shaped boots, which make me think that Skeletor has webbed toes. The figure wears an armour-plated skirt front along with chest armour that features additional shoulder guarding. Skeletor is armed with the second half of the power sword, as well as a ram-headed staff, which is a magical weapon known as the Havoc Staff. Skeletor is a very memorable villain indeed, who stands alongside Darth Vader and Megatron as one of the most memorable villains of the 80s. Rounding out the original lineup of evil action figures is Beastman and Merman. Beastman is a personal favourite from childhood because while Skeletor lurked in the background, commanding his evil forces from afar, Beastman was often front and centre, locked in mortal combat with He-Man. His armour consists of 2 separate spike panels fitted to each arm, and a chest armour piece that wraps around the neck and offers some protection to the back of his head. Beastman is also armed with a whip, which is a good choice for this character since whips are often used for taming beasts. The other henchman of Skeletor to be released in 1982 was Merman, the Ocean Warlord. This aquatic humanoid creature has green skin and a head sculpt that was later reused in the line for Stinkor. Merman only comes with 2 accessories, which include a sword and chest armour, but I do believe that Merman's armour is the best armour designed for the 1982 range. When displayed together, this evil assembly of Skeletor, Beastman and Merman make for a truly unique set of action figures, and when I received these gifts as a child, I had never seen anything quite like them before. They're just remarkable. Before we take a look at the 2 vehicles, there is one last action figure to discuss, the Cosmic Enforcer, Zodak. The character of Zodak was portrayed as being neutral in the battle between good and evil, leaving many children, myself included, confused about his allegiances. In a similar fashion to Stratos, I also find this figure to be less than impressive. Zodak is armed with a very boring looking laser pistol and equipped with red chest armour. I'm not a huge fan of Zodak because although Masters of the Universe is a sci-fi fantasy mashup, I've always preferred the fantasy elements of the story, and this figure represents the pure sci-fi side of the mythology. And finally we get to the vehicles, one of which is pretty awesome and the other's a bit so-so. Firstly, let's look at the Wind Raider, and this is the vehicle that I believe to be pretty average. The Wind Raider is a single pilot flying vehicle with a rotating rudder and a pair of extremely fragile wings, making this toy difficult to find complete today. The single play feature incorporated into this toy consists of a hook and rope winch, which actually doesn't work that well. The far superior vehicle is the Battle Ram, and I loved this toy when I was a child. Still do actually. The Battle Ram is a blue four-wheeled armoured vehicle, and the front driver's position can be detached to become a small one-man flying craft, and you should recognise this because it was used extensively in the Masters of the Universe animated series. Even with the pilot's craft detached, the Battle Ram can still be used as a portable artillery piece, with handles at the rear that figures can use to push the cannon to the firing line. The spring-loaded launcher can then be fired via the red trigger, launching the rams at the evil enemy forces. And with that, we have now covered every single toy released by Mattel in the 1982 Masters of the Universe range. This is an excellent toy line to collect, and completing the 82 range is quite achievable. And while complete and original versions of He-Man and Skeletor are rising in price, you can certainly pick up an entire set for far cheaper than the first year releases of many other toy lines. We really hope you found this video both helpful and entertaining, and if you'd like to support the channel further, then head over to our Patreon page. I'm Tony from Analog Toys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.